So I've mentioned in previous Ninja art tips that I love using these water-soluble pencils and crayons, markers. So I've got quite a few. I've got this little set here that I keep together as a bundle in one of my jars. So we don't need that one. This is normal pencil is over here. And over on this side is, that's normal, that's water soluble. I'm looking for aquarelle or light wash. Light wash, that's charcoal. This one's aquarelle. Not sure if you can read that there, aquarelle on the pencil. So that is a aquarellable. They all use different words. That's just a normal pencil, and that's a oil-based one. So these ones here are not water soluble, but these ones are water soluble. So let's have a look at the really big thumping great dark one here. You can draw with this. I've mentioned this in previous videos. You can see more tips and tricks on how to do this. But if I get my water brush, there's a tip on how to use the water brush as well. You can see you can get that graphite to move around on the paper. This is just ordinary sketch paper. I've just got a little sheet in between so that it doesn't bleed through to the sheet underneath. And so this is a really lovely sort of pencil to use. Oh, this is looking a little bit like a face. Did you see that? So let's give her some eyes. She's got quite a big chin, but do we worry about that? No. So this is very soft. These light wash ones are quite lovely because they give you a very pale, delicate version of the grey. So I'm just doing this very roughly. Get some interesting shapes here, tones. Looks like a bit of a mad kitty's drawing, but this will work. Let's give her a nicer neck. There we go. Maybe she's got some hair around here. There we go. So that's a lovely, these are both really lovely pencils to use. And then when I switch across to, that's a light wash one, I switch across to, that's my favourite sort of pencil. There's another Ninja art tip on that one. If I wanted to use colour on top of, let's draw a cat. I was just painting cats last night. So if I'm drawing something and then putting colour onto it, I have a different approach. So if I'm going to use watercolour or water-soluble pencils of some sort that are colour, I don't combine the water-soluble graphite with that. If I'm going to introduce colour, I will always just, or nearly always, just use, let's go for a crazy orange cat just for the fun of it. I'll just leave it with the normal pencil. And just leave that outline, because if I was to use one of these for, I'll just do another cat alongside so you can see. I love drawing cats. So especially if you use a bit of a darker one, if we're starting to use one of these, for example, and you're drawing with that, if I start to add in a colour, let's use a different colour, Let's use hot pink, permanent rose. Have a look at what happens when I add in my colour into here. It starts to get this yucky blackiness. Well, for me, you might love that effect. But when I'm using the water-soluble graphite pencils, I generally don't add colour into those because it can tend to look a bit yucky. I'll show you over on this one. It's sort of, it's a bit kind of, what would we call it? It's very greyish and it sort of kills the colour. So because the grey in the water-soluble pencils and crayons is waking up when you hit it with the water, then that grey and blackness seeps into your colour and it really kills down the colour. So I would much rather, I prefer this method here, and if I wanted to go darker in that shadow, I would just use a different colour in that shadow to get that different tone. I keep wanting to dip into the water, but I'm using a water brush. I should move that away so I don't get tempted. So take a bit of this up here. And can you see that's really beautiful, pure colour when you do it that way? So between these two, my preference is much more to go for this one, because especially on this side, if you were to start waking this side up by, like you wanted to put some pale pink on this side, then all of a sudden you're getting this, the greyness is coming across here. So you've actually lost the highlights in this one. Whereas here you've got pure paper. It doesn't matter how much water you add into that. It's going to keep that white paper really pure. So there's a really big difference. I'm just going to put some shadow under each of these just to make them even and give them some depth and anchoring. There's a really big difference. I hope you can see that when you're putting colour into an existing drawing, if you've used water-soluble graphite and you put colour in, it really kills the colour off. So if I know in advance that I'm going to be using colour in it, I stick with a normal pencil that is not water-soluble, so that when I put my wet, beautiful watercolour colours over the top, they stay pure and clean and they're not muddied up with this dirty grey colour that comes in here. And I also keep all my highlights clean. So hopefully that's been a bit of an eye-opener for those of you that have started playing with these gorgeous things. My rule is that I will, it's a general rule because, you know, as an artist, rules are meant to be broken, but you need to understand the rules first before you know how to break them judiciously. So my general rule is that I will decide in advance if something's going to be a tonal image. So let's say I know in advance I want to do a cat as a tonal, just in my sketchbook maybe, you know, you're traveling around and you've just carried your pencils with you. I'll do a little fat cat, this one. Hopefully you can see this all right. There's a little fat cat. And I'll put my tone in here. Just sort of get hints of this tone happening with a few marks of the marker and then wake it up. But I won't touch this side because I want to keep the highlights on that side. So here we can wake them up, spread around the tone for where I want it to go. Put on his little tail and up the side of his ear there. So I will choose in advance if I'm going to do a tonal image or I'm going to do a colour image. And if I'm going to go tonal, I'll pick up the water-soluble pencils and crayons. If I know I'm going to add colour in, I'll just use traditional pencils so that the colour stays pure. So here's the full image that I was working on. So tonal cat versus full colour cat with normal pencil. Don't forget to visit us over at zenartart.com for more tips and tricks. Thanks for watching.